Have you ever felt like the air just disappeared, even though your lungs were full? As if something invisible was squeezing your chest and you couldn't explain why? Maybe it was when I woke up, before I even got out of bed, or in the middle of the day when no one notices. Anxiety has this silent way of visiting us, and when it arrives, it steals our breath, focus, and even faith. And the scariest thing is that often we can't even put into words what we're feeling. It's as if the soul is screaming inside while on the outside we keep trying to look good. But God sees. He always sees. The truth is that you are not alone. More people than you might think are experiencing this same emotional struggle, this invisible battle that doesn't show up in exams, but that hurts inside. And that is precisely why this message reached you today. It's no coincidence. It is a divine reminder that there is a way out. One direction. A refuge. What you will discover now may surprise you, because it is not just another temporary solution, but a path to true peace, one that only comes from above. In moments like this, when everything within us is accelerated and out of control, the world usually offers immediate answers, distractions, promises of success, of gold, of recognition. But have you ever noticed how empty all this is when the soul is restless? When anxiety takes over, no amount of applause in the world can fill the hole that opens up inside. And perhaps what your heart is seeking today is not quick relief, but wisdom. That divine wisdom that guides us even in the midst of chaos, that whispers, "Calm down," when everything seems to scream, "Run." Have you ever been through this? Waking up with a knot in your chest as if you forgot to breathe? Stay with me until the end, because what we're going to talk about here could change the way you face your days. Because there is a place where peace does not depend on circumstances, and there is a type of prayer that does not ask for possessions, fame, or success, but for something infinitely more powerful: direction, clarity, wisdom from above. The wisdom that comes from God is neither theoretical nor distant. It is alive, practical, and capable of completely transforming the way you deal with fear, anxiety, and daily challenges. And maybe, just maybe, all you need right now is not to breathe deeper, but to hear a deeper voice. A voice that calms the storm, that silences the heart, and that shows, with love, the next step. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. And perhaps for the first time in a long time, you will begin to understand that this tightness in your chest is not the end, but the beginning of a new conversation with God. A conversation where you don't need to pretend to be strong, nor hide your pain. Here in this space, you can simply be. You can breathe, you can ask, you can cry, you can pray. And as you listen to all this, perhaps some memories are running through your mind. Maybe you're remembering nights when you couldn't sleep, or mornings when the world felt too heavy. If this topic makes sense to you, leave here in the comments what has touched you most so far. Your story can resonate in the heart of someone going through the same struggle, and together you can find strength. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content. Every like, every comment, and every new subscription is like a sign that this message is alive, necessary, and needs to go further. And if you feel that this video spoke to you in a special way, subscribe to the channel now to continue receiving words that calm, prayers that strengthen, and content that reminds you every day that God is close, even when everything seems to be falling apart. Take a deep breath, because what comes next might be exactly what you've been waiting to hear for a long time. We grow up hearing that feeling, anxiety, is a sign of weakness, that it is something to hide, disguise, or even deny. But let me tell you a truth that few people talk about. Anxiety is often not a defect. It's a warning. It's the soul trying to warn you that something is out of place, that you are moving away from your essence, your peace, your inner wisdom. It's like a silent scream saying, "Hey, look inside." And when that sign appears, it doesn't want to paralyze you. He wants to wake you up. You are not broken. On the contrary, you are being called to something deeper. And as strange as it may seem, this discomfort could be the beginning of your transformation. Because pain, when listened to with courage, reveals hidden paths. It shows behind the scenes that were camouflaged by the rush of everyday life. And maybe this emptiness you've been feeling is not an end, but an invitation. an invitation to find yourself again and to listen to that voice that anxiety tries to drown out, the voice of God. Many people try to resolve anxiety only with external solutions, more productivity, more distraction, more control, but the problem was never outside. What needs to be healed is in the silence, in the soul, and it is precisely in this deepest place that true wisdom begins to be born. Wisdom to make better choices, to change your mindset, to see the hidden truth behind confusing emotions. And do you know what's strongest in all of this? That's when you realize you don't need to overcome anxiety. You need to listen to her. It carries messages that can change your journey completely. It can lead you to different decisions, more aligned with who you really are. And when that happens, peace doesn't come like magic. It comes as a consequence. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Comment there. That makes sense to me. If you've ever felt that anxiety was actually trying to show you something bigger. It's curious how, when faced with anxiety, the world always has a ready solution. It's as if saying, "Are you feeling bad? Then buy something. Distract yourself, work harder, chase after success, recognition, money." And for a moment it seems to work. The mind gets busy, the heart slows down for a few minutes, but soon after, the emptiness returns, sometimes even bigger than before. And that's because these external promises only cover the pain, they don't heal. It's like putting on strong perfume to hide an open wound. There comes a time when the smell no longer hides, and the truth reappears with even more force. The reality is that the peace your soul needs is not found in the achievements that others value. It's not a new goal, not a full bank account, not an impeccable social media feed. All of this has an impact, but it is superficial. These are shortcuts that distract, but do not liberate. And while we continue trying to find relief on the outside, anxiety grows on the inside, asking for something much deeper, a reunion with the essence, a sincere pause, an attentive listening to what God is trying to say in the midst of this noise. Maybe you are experiencing exactly that, a tireless search to feel something different, to break out of this cycle of worry, fear, and demands. But no real change happens without mindset transformation. And that transformation doesn't start with what you have. It starts with what you believe, with what you decide to pursue, with the value you place on wisdom, not just results. This is the hidden truth behind the anxiety that no one told you. It can be the portal to a new journey if you have the courage to cross it. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Write it in the comments. I'm on this journey too. If you've ever realized that the answers the world offers don't fulfill what your soul really needs. It's curious how when life gets tough, most people run to ask for more money, more strength, more opportunities. But there is a character in the Bible who chose something completely different, and it changed everything. Solomon, when he had the chance to ask God for anything, did not ask for riches, nor victories, nor success. He asked for wisdom, that's right, wisdom to make good decisions, to lead your life with justice, clarity, and discernment. And it was exactly this request that opened the doors to everything he needed later. The gold came, the prosperity came, but only because he chose what was most important first, God's direction. This story has a much greater impact than it seems, because deep down, it reveals a hidden truth that anxiety tries to hide. You don't need more things, you need more clarity, more wisdom to know what to leave, what to seek, what to remain silent, what to say. Wisdom to see beyond the confusion of the moment. When the mind is agitated, it's easy to feel like everything is falling apart. But when the soul connects with divine wisdom, even chaos begins to make sense. This is the kind of transformation that changes the journey. Not because everything around you improves overnight, but because the way you deal with situations gains depth. Anxiety loses strength when you understand that there is a safe source to run to, and this source is not in the world's ready-made answers. It is in the wisdom that comes from above, the one that aligns your mentality with what really matters. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Comment there. I choose wisdom. If this also touched something inside and reminded you of what is really worth seeking. There are people who think that peace is the absence of problems, as if it could only exist when everything around is peaceful. But true peace is not dependent on circumstances. It is born from a silent wisdom that comes from God. It's when you pray for calm, And instead of him just calming the world around you, he calms the world within you. It shows you what needs to be left behind, what is worth keeping, what should be said, and most importantly, what should be silenced. Because sometimes what fuels anxiety the most is this need to have all the answers now, to control everything, to always get it right. And when God comes in with wisdom, he doesn't give you control, he gives you clarity. This clarity changes everything. It transforms the way you see what you are experiencing. Suddenly, what caused you despair begins to seem less threatening because you understand where to put your energy. Wisdom shows you where to rest and where to act. It reorganizes emotions, and the most incredible thing is that even if nothing around you changes, you feel like you've changed inside. This is true peace. It's like walking through the storm, but with an invisible umbrella held by someone who knows the way. This is why praying for peace is actually asking for wisdom, and God responds. Not in the way the world expects, but in the way your soul needs. Sometimes the answer comes in silence, in a calm thought, in a certainty that comes out of nowhere. Other times, it comes in the form of decisions, the kind you feel you were guided to make. And when you begin to walk with this wisdom, the days still have challenges, but anxiety loses the power it had. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Comment there. This is the peace I seek. If you understood that the true answer to anxiety is the wisdom that comes from God. Many people think that praying is a way to escape reality, as if prayer were a hiding place for those who don't want to face problems head-on. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Prayer is not an escape. It is a breath. It's when everything inside us seems to collapse, and even so, we find the strength to keep breathing. When the heart races, when the mind races 1,000 thoughts, it is in prayer that the soul finds air. And not just any air, it is a breath that comes from within, that comes from above, and that reorganizes chaos in silence. Praying is not ignoring pain. It's having the courage to face it with someone who can really do something about it. Prayer takes us out of the center of anxiety and places us in the center of God's presence. And there, where there is no audience, no demands, you can simply exist. It may collapse. You can remake yourself. You can ask for help without fear of appearing weak. Because God doesn't demand a perfect version of you. He wants the real one. And it is in this surrender, in this intimate encounter, that you begin to realize the impact of prayer. Not because problems disappear, but because your mentality changes. Praying gives you clarity to see beyond what is suffocating you. And more than that, it gives you back the sense of purpose that anxiety tries to steal. Because while the world screams that you have to be strong all the time, prayer reminds you that even at your most fragile, you are still loved. It's still guided. It is still heard. This is powerful. This is liberating. Praying is not stopping acting. It is acting with direction, with conscience, with a light soul. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject. Comment there. Prayer sustains me. If you've ever felt that praying is much more than a habit, it's emotional and spiritual survival. There are days when we wake up so automatically that we don't even realize how we're feeling. You get up with your mind racing, your body tired, and your heart restless. And then, without realizing it, the day goes by and anxiety grows, as if something is pushing you to a place that doesn't make sense. But sometimes, all you need isn't a great plan or a big reveal. Sometimes what changes everything is a simple prayer, a phrase whispered in the middle of the silence, said with an open heart. Something like, "Lord, give me wisdom to see beyond fear, and peace that can only come from you." This prayer, small in appearance, is gigantic in impact, because she doesn't ask for everything to be resolved now, nor does she demand that the path be clear. She only recognizes that there is a safe place to return to, and that place is the wisdom that comes from God, the only one capable of bringing real relief. When you pray like this, something inside you changes. It's not a noise, it's not an explosive emotion, it's more subtle. It's as if the soul takes a deep breath for the first time after hours of tension. It's as if suddenly you can see what previously seemed confusing. The big turning point is understanding that you don't need to control everything. You just need to align yourself with those who know exactly where to take you. This prayer, said honestly without rushing, can be the starting point for a new mentality. It takes you out of the center of the problem and puts you in the center of the direction. And that's when the day changes. Not because everything around you has changed, but because you decided to start differently. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Comment: Lord, give me wisdom. If this prayer spoke to you in a special way, there are things in life that don't happen by chance. There are encounters that cannot be explained, words that arrive at the exact time, and signs that speak more than 1,000 certainties. And maybe you are experiencing exactly that right now. Because if you're watching this video at this moment on this day, it's not for nothing. God saw your struggle. You saw that moment when you tried to hide your crying, when no one noticed what was happening inside. He saw his tiredness disguised as strength. And as much as you think you're going through everything alone, there's something bigger taking care of every detail behind the scenes of this journey. This message reached you because heaven has not forgotten you. Because God knows that anxiety tried to steal your peace, and He is using exactly this moment to remind you of a truth that perhaps fear has suppressed. You are not lost. You are being led. And even without understanding everything, you are on the way. This is not just a video. It's an answer, a reminder, a soft touch from above saying, "Daughter, I am here, and everything you cannot control, I can." Sometimes all we need is a moment of spiritual clarity, an instant of connection that reminds us who is really in control. And that moment is happening now. Maybe it's time to change the focus, not on the problem, but on those above it. Because when you understand that you were chosen to receive this word, something aligns within you. Anxiety loses space, and His presence occupies what was once despair. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Comment there. That word was for me if your heart felt that this was no coincidence. We have the impulse to want everything to be over soon. The pain, the doubt, the anxiety. And it's natural to ask God, take this away from me. But what if the most important thing is not that He takes it away, but that He shows you why it is there? Sometimes the greatest liberation doesn't come from an immediate solution, but from the right direction. Because while you insist on erasing the symptom, God wants to treat the root. And that's where wisdom, discernment, and faith come in, not as theories, but as practical tools to overcome what paralyzes you, with your eyes wider and your heart stronger. Just asking for anxiety to go away can leave you stuck in the same cycle. It goes away, but it comes back, because the emptiness that caused it is still there. But when you pray with spiritual maturity and say, "Lord, show me what this anxiety is," trying to reveal, guide me with wisdom to deal with it the right way, something changes. Prayer stops being a request for escape and becomes a step of transformation. And it is in this change of mentality that you reposition yourself. Leave the victim position and enter the shoes of someone who is under construction, aligned with a purpose much greater than the problem. There are pains that are just a bridge. There are sleepless nights that are the beginning of a new vision. And there is anxiety that is just showing you that you are going too fast in a direction that is not yours. God doesn't just want to free you from discomfort. He wants to save you from the wrong path. He wants to give you back your awareness of who you are in Him. Because with direction, even contrary winds serve to speed up the process. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Right there. I choose direction, not escape. If you understand that what you need most today is not for everything to disappear, but for everything to make sense. There are things that we only understand later, situations that seemed too confusing, decisions that hurt, people who left without explanation. But when you look back wisely, everything starts to fall into place. And that's when you realize it was the prayer you said yesterday that freed you from what no longer makes sense today. This is why asking for wisdom is not a spiritual luxury. It is a necessity for those who want to live with purpose. Psalm. Wisdom you seek now in the midst of anxiety may be precisely what will prevent you from repeating cycles that exhaust you, from accepting less than you deserve, or from making impulsive decisions just to alleviate the pain of the moment. The hidden truth that almost no one talks about is that anxiety often comes because you are about to sabotage yourself. The soul feels the weight of the wrong choice even before it happens. But when you connect with God, when you silence everything to hear His voice, He shows you the right path, even if it's not the easiest. Wisdom does not scream, but it has a powerful impact. It saves you from unnecessary tears, toxic relationships, and meaningless investments. It frees you from the traps that fear creates when you feel pressured to solve everything alone. So if today you are praying and thinking that nothing is happening, breathe. Perhaps the answer has already come, but in the form of discernment, in the form of peace in the heart when faced with a decision, in the form of discomfort where there was insistence before, and maybe down the road when you look back on this moment, you'll be grateful that you didn't receive what you wanted, but that you received exactly what you needed. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Comment there, wisdom sets me free. If you understand that it is what will protect you from choices that have nothing to do with your true journey. If you've come this far, it's because something inside you understood this message. Maybe it was a phrase, maybe it was the feeling of relief in the middle of everything. What matters is that this conversation made sense. So, if this really touched your heart, leave a comment here saying, "I'm with you until the end," just so I know that you were with me on this journey until the last minute. If this type of content helps you, if it makes a difference in your routine, if it brings peace when your mind is heavy, subscribe to the channel so you continue to receive these messages that are not just words, but breaths in the middle of the rush of life, and take the opportunity to leave a like too, not as a mechanical gesture, but as if to say, "This has made me stronger. I want more of this." There's a video here that complements exactly what we talked about today. Click and stay with me there. The next part of your journey can start now.